Welcome to another episode of Everybody's Got Something. I'm your host, Seth Hoffman. Today on the show, we have New Mexico Jam Band Fest organizer and much more, Jennie McDaniel. Let's have a good time and let's get into it. All right, Jennie, what a pleasure to have you on the show, and I look forward to hearing about the many things you do. Why don't you tell us, first off, how are you doing today, and tell us about yourself.
I'm doing excellent. I was a little nervous, but you are very calming and relaxing, so I appreciate you for putting me at ease. And I'm doing good today, and here to talk about the Jam Band Fest.
Okay, well, how did you get into the Jam Band Fest organizing? Was that something you would always hope to do, or did it find you?
It found me. I'm a professional healer by day. I've been a professional healer since I've been about 23. I'm 48 now. And I do energy work and massage and psychic work. And I started seeing all these artisans around me that didn't have quite the business attributes to sell their art properly.
Yes.
So I've been running businesses since I've been 12. So I was like, oh, I can do that. I don't make art or make music, but I can help you showcase it and sell it. So I started doing art shows. And then I would have my musician friends come in and play. And before you know it, I'm getting bigger acts, and before you know it, it's a festival. So it kind of just segued over about 3 years from me being a full-time professional healer to now doing that part-time, and then part-time doing the events.
Incredible. Can we back up to 12? I'm curious, you said you've been doing business things since age 12.
Yes.
So can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes, I've always had a business mind. I always heard over and over again, oh, you got a good head on your shoulders. And I was like, I don't really know what that means, but I think what they were seeing is my organization skills already, or my business skills. So when I was 12, and my parents were like, well, if you need money, why don't you go ahead and get that? So out of necessity, I created a babysitting business. Wow. But the cool thing was because I like to do many things at once. Thank you, ADHD. I was able to, it's a gift at the end of the day, really. Have some difficulties with it, but it's a gift. So I started to babysit several families' kids at the same time, putting them in the house so the parents could go out together. So I was making triple the money.
Wow.
So then
and
I
it's
was
probably
like,
actually easier because then the kids entertain
play together.
themselves.
I mean, you have to get after them every once in a while, but yeah, no, they keep each other busy.
And how did that come to you? I mean, that's quite a...
Money, I needed money. Money.
Good motivator.
It was a good motivator.
Yeah.
Well,
you take a good head on your shoulders and a good incentive and come up with something wonderful.
Now I think about, what did I need money for? I was 12.
Yeah, right.
But, want to go out with the movies with my friends and do all these different things.
Gotta go rent your movie at Blockbuster.
I had to go get that movie at Blockbuster for 99 cents. They weren't just giving those away. So, but my parents both grew up in poverty. Okay. And they were just one click out of it factory workers. So they were very, A, didn't have it to give me, but B, very much like, why don't you climb up? And I was like, all right. So there I was at 12. And then when I was 16, I started waiting tables, and I was like, this is okay. And then I moved to Detroit and waited tables. I'm from Kalamazoo, which is the west side of the state. I moved to Detroit at the mid-90s and was like, wow, this is great. Big city. I'm from a small city. Started going to raves. Wow. Saw somebody doing massage there. And I was like, my business mind. I wonder if there's any money in that. And then after my experience in Detroit for a couple years, I went back to Kalamazoo and went to massage school. So it's a good inspiration
and
to
that began your healing journey. And when did you discover, because a lot of people might say, oh, massage, make money, but to actually recognize that you have something innate in you to give and to heal, how did you discover that?
Well, since I've been 8, I've been studying past lives. I was watching Oprah Winfrey, 1987, big hair, blue eyeshadow. You can see it, right? She's incredible. She was interviewing a guy who swore up and down, back and forth, he was in our American Civil War and he had a birthmark to prove where he felt like he was shot in the American Civil War. And so he was answering questions that a civilian shouldn't know. It was before the internet and all these things. And so my little 8-year-old head just flipped open and was like, we've been here before. And I started to understand some of the memories I carried through. For example, my mom would have to crush up a little Tylenol if I had a fever on a spoon and give it to me like that. My brother and sister, 4 and 5 years younger, could just take a pill. I started, I must have died by taking pills. That was my first realization. Everyone's like, well, didn't that scare you? No. It got me so curious. I said, what's next? And they showed me burning. Well, my 8-year-old head associated burning with a house fire. They're teaching you stop, drop, and roll at that point and stuff. Well, come to find out, burn at the cross a couple times in past lives. Good. So I was having memories of being punished for my views. Wow. Yeah. So again, didn't upset me. Just went and played softball after, just a normal, relatively normal kid. I was very curious about the paranormal.
Yes.
And of course the 90s came in, and so did the occult with the goth movement. So before you know it, I'm getting all kinds of other psychics I can go see. I didn't know I was a psychic. I just thought I knew about past lives, and everyone did.
Yes.
And then I started to realize that I was skilled in that.
And does this, like, when you're sleeping or any time through the day, like how does it come to you, or how do the visions or messages, images come
and
to
messages, very good. They just come to me. They just come to me.
Just
I'll ask a
anytime
question.
throughout the day.
It can happen anytime. It's not intrusive. If it becomes like I can't do two things at once, I'll say I'll be right with you, or I'll be right with you. But no, it just happens whenever. But when I'm in session and people start asking me questions, that's when it really rolls in. Then it just turns on. Other times it's just little glimpses or what have you.
So when was kind of did it go from kind of first having some images until, okay, do you recall some of your very first experiences that you were like, okay, something is really being communicated here?
Yeah, when I started to realize about past lives, and then I started to realize that we must come from someplace, and then I started connecting with my spirit guides, and my brother's also psychic, and he'd be like, Jenny, did you see that ghost? He's more clairvoyant than I am, which is clear vision. I'm more clairsentient and claircognizant and clairaudient, which is clear knowing and hearing and feeling. So I just knew that there was something beyond what we were seeing, and then that just sparked all the curiosity. And then by the time I'm 23, I'm getting into massage school, and I'm working on people physically, like they're showing, and then people I'm working on are like, so Jenny, I don't want to freak you out, but why when you touch me do I flood with colors? And it's images and symbols, and I'm like, I don't know. Because at this point, I don't really know what I am. I just know that I know some things, and I think everyone else does, and I'm not.
So maybe the massage part brought it out, it sounds like.
It brought it out. It was a vehicle. And my website, it will say about Jenny, that was a beautiful vehicle for me to practice my psychic work. So before you know it, I'm 5 years in and doing massage, and I'm like, so did your husband just die? And they're crying, and I'm like, so I have something for you. You take it or leave it. I don't have attachments to it. At that point, it wasn't coming in like a river. It would come in sporadically. And then as you practice, like anything else, it comes in over and over. And so now I give advice, psychic advice for a living when I'm not doing festivals.
That's interesting, because I've noticed like certain times where I feel like I'm getting like signs of, as far as things.
That's the universe communicating with you.
And I felt like the more I recognize it and acknowledge it, the more those things happen. And we're like,
awareness is everything.
Yeah. So that's, and it's interesting because you saw someone doing massage and you're looking for a way to make money. You could have seen anything, but something even back then was connecting you. Wow.
Because I already knew I was a little different. I didn't do well in school, so I know I wasn't going to typical college. So I was poking around the trades a little, but then massage came, and I was like, of course, that's it. And then, of course, I did well in massage school, and then started my business, after I graduated, so about 2003.
And this was in Detroit also?
This was in Kalamazoo.
Oh, this
so
is in
Detroit,
yes,
I went after high school for a few years, and then came back to Kalamazoo to go to school and have a more affordable life. And so in 2003, I graduated from massage school, and I started my business, and I built that for about 7 years in Plainwell, Michigan, and I sold that and moved to Boulder, Colorado. So I wanted to see if I stood up to other healers. Where I'm from, they're far and few between, especially at the 2003 and 4 and 5 and 6. And so I wanted to see what was out there, and then I went to Boulder and got shown all kinds of healers, music, the creative space.
And was there anyone waiting in Boulder when you went there? You're just like, I'm going to Boulder.
No, I'm a gypsy. I just went. Yeah, everyone's like, aren't you afraid? I'm like, of what, Boulder? Come on. No. I mean, maybe if I was right downtown, Denver or Detroit, I'd be a little more cautious, but no, Boulder didn't scare me at all.
So you went there and
started another business.
And this business for also a massage?
Yep, energy, psychic massage. I was doing podcasts then. I created a podcast network. I was able to kind of piece these out and sell them.
And this back then, this was before podcast was a probably even people knew what it was.
2012, so it was at the beginning spaces.
Yeah, just starting out. Yeah. Wow. Okay. And so, can you kind of take us through one of the appointments, or what it's like for you, or what the experience is?
Yeah, I will. But I have a question for you
Yes,
first.
of course. Yes.
Do I seem familiar to you?
You very much. Yeah, actually, you do.
That is a sign that we know each other. Familiarity is that cellular memory. We come here with amnesia,
'Cause we
as you
haven't
know.
met, right?
No,
I
not
mean,
in
as
this
far as I know,
lifetime.
but yeah,
No, we
you're
played
the same.
music together, and you have a lot of the same friends I do from past lives, like Jerry Garcia and Janis Joplin and Jim Morrison's Waving. And so you know a lot of the same rockers or musicians that I do, so we've absolutely crossed paths before.
Interesting.
Birds of a feather, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
They
I
flock
mean-
together.
I mean, I feel like we've known each other for a very long time.
Well, you're taking what I'm saying very smoothly. A lot of people are like, now what? And that's cool too, because I can kind of really step in, but you're just like more, which is good. Yeah, you're interested.
Yeah.
You've studied the occult in past lives too. You've been intuitive, you know, you've played with a lot of this stuff as well.
Yes.
Some of my favorite people are Jewish too.
Okay.
Love Jesus and Bernie.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So a session.
Okay. Yeah,
So
yeah.
if you're on the phone with me, it's obviously similar, but I'm on the phone. But if you come to my home in Placitas, you could sit in front of me and do it if you're nearby. But typically I ask people what they're working on, like what troubles are they having? What things are they having a hard time manage or get through?
Yes.
Typically, it's a karmic pattern from past lives. We come in to learn things over and over, and I help them take a peek of that and maybe bolster the struggle and take a peek at some outcomes of how we can move past this karma and heal karma and get some freedom from karma. A lot of females come to me looking for a partner, and they have a karmic pattern of maybe settling for the wrong one. Men can do this too, no doubt. And then they're just waiting for an equal partner, and they need coaching to get through that. It's a very stressful time. So I would call myself a relationship coach, a dating coach, a healer, a life coach, a spiritual coach. I would call myself a business coach because I help people build and sell businesses too. So I would just call myself a coach ultimately, but specifically I work with past lives and channeling.
And is everyone open to it, or do you sometimes are you talking with someone and they're just like, all right, you know, this is too much for me?
Usually they're cool because
if
if they've made an appointment,
exactly,
they're kind of they have an idea. But when I tell them they've incarnated another planet, that's when their head's like, what? I'm like, I know you're an alien. You don't always choose this place. Why?
Yes.
Choose a womb on a different planet, a different dimension if you want to. So sometimes I kind of flip them back, but they're a lot like you where they're like, okay, they start eating it and they're like, whoa. And I like to open people's minds up because the human mind loves to single things down. Jenny, who's my spirit guide? You got 50 of them. You know, we love to kind of, what's my past life? You got 100,000. Where should we start? You know? So
so how do you know, what comes to you? Does something just come to you as far as what to start with? Or?
Yeah, they usually tell me their problem or their issue, and if they don't have that and they just want to go off the top, I'll start looking at their archetypes. Like, for example, you're an old soul, so you got healer, teacher, seeker in you, and then you can always pair that with artisan too, and you portray all of those. You've told me a little bit about your travels and where you've been. You actually were a public school teacher, so you hit all the numbers with archetypes. Wow. Do you know Carl Jung? He's a psychologist, Freud student.
Heard the name.
He kind of created the archetypical understanding, and I like his work. Freud is teacher, you know, but he was cool.
Yes, yes. And so you identify which part of their past life, and then
we look at it, and we pull it apart, and we dissect it. For example, let's say a woman comes in and is just like, I'm meeting all the wrong guys. Oh gosh, you know, I want to see why I struggle so difficultly with relationships. Well, typically we'll take a peek, and there's some trauma around relationships in past lives. Arranged, told who to love, told who to marry, told what to wear. Typically women, some men too, obviously. So they have all this like beat down, stressed energy around finding relationships because they've had some tricky experiences. I'm here to help bolster that and then to help them identify what they're looking for. Because a lot of people, there's a funny meme that was like, the boomers married the first person they held hands with and never got counseling. It's a little tease, you know, but it's kind of like, no, let's look at this.
My parents got together.
That's how my parents got together. They were very young, and that's just kind of how that happened back then.
You know, get out of my parents' house.
It's exactly what happens quite often. We do it a little different now, and now women have different choices. And you can see that by the birth rate coming down, given the option with birth control and opportunity.
Which is interesting because we've always been told, overpopulation, and
now they're scared
now
we don't have enough.
And which is sort of seems like almost like a conspiracy.
It is a
like,
fear-based reality.
And it's
we'll be
like,
fine.
yeah.
Because the fear is you'll get some incel on the internet be like, how dare you not want kids? Who's going to take care of you when you're older? I'm like, you don't breed help. You shouldn't anyway. I mean, sure, if they want to help you, that's fantastic. But expecting that and then having a child based out of fear, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I never wanted kids. I've been child-free since I've been 8.
Yes.
I watched my mom do most of the work because that's how it was in the 80s. And we were lower middle class, another different style there. And I was like, nah.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, you'll regret it. I'm like, when? For me, it was perfect.
And were you always someone who just had a clear vision of what you knew you wanted?
But I was always at odds with it because everything my vision held was the opposite of what everyone's doing. I didn't get married till the first time until I was almost 40, and I didn't want kids.
Yes.
And I couldn't do 9 to 5 because my ADHD was just in a way that it prohibited me from doing that. I did poorly in school. So I had to create a business, do things wildly different, and then all the meanwhile having to trust that I was getting it right and everyone else wasn't right.
And
so
you had a faith of...
A faith.
And do you like talk to God, or do you have a belief in God?
Mostly my spirit guides.
So and is that... I guess God is kind of, in terms of everything combined.
You can look at it like that. Yeah, I would look at it like that.
And so, so you said you got married later in life.
Yeah.
Was that, but it wasn't something you stressed about it. Just,
well, I didn't find any. The reason I'm a relationship and dating coach is because I have a lot of experience in dating the wrong men.
Yes.
Right? Like I'm alternative in the way that I wasn't doing anything typical. So an engineer was off the table to marry. So I wasn't going to get that thing. So I'm dating artists and psychics and healers, and sometimes that can be a little tricky, and we're at a learning lesson. So I was just running across men that I didn't want to marry, but they were fine. We were learning, we were growing, we were having fun. We're all still friends almost. But then I started to really be like, well, if I want to get married, I have to find men who are interested in getting married, where I'm running around with the playboys or party boys or whatever, which was more my style anyway, But then I started to be like, So then I met my husband when I was 40.
And how soon after you kind of had that realization did you meet him after? Was it soon after you?
Like 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah, it took a minute still. And then I ran across him, and my spirit guides were like, bling, bling, bling. And I'm like, well, they've never made such noise when I ran across them. And they might have been like, yeah, there's interesting learning there, or why not? Give it a go, because we never know how people's ego will react to us. That's why we date, so we can see. And then I ran across my husband. And he's wicked smart, like me with business, and retired at 40 from growing marijuana. So he was
how
just
did you meet?
online.
Okay.
Yeah, an eccentric dating website, a spiritual type. I don't even know if it exists. Elephant Journal used to have something going on like that. And so when I met him, I was just like instantly like, oh my God, I know him. Just that familiarity, that comes in. And then of course he was speaking my language. He loves weed. He loves music. He loves, he'd been around healers in his life and knew the language a little. So I was like,
you both
here
kind of
we
blew
go.
each other's minds a little bit. Okay, what have we here?
What have we here? And I had been married one time before that. Like I said, 3 years. It took about 3 years. I had been married for about 1.5 years, my very first one. And then was like, wow, that wasn't exactly.
Trial run.
It was a trial run. And I thought, and this is, I think typical, once you get married, the commitment's there so you can work through the struggles a little easier, which sometimes it is, but with him it wasn't, and we separated and went our separate ways. But nonetheless, I was like, gosh, I really need to start looking at what I want, what I need, how I need it to act. And that's when I came across emotional intelligence, which is the ability to be flexible and discuss and meet each other in the middle.
How did you learn about that? That's something, as a teacher, I always wondered why that wasn't one of the core subjects.
I'm serious. And then chakras too. They should have meditation and yoga. They should do all this.
It's interesting some of the stuff they shove that it's not always so useful.
No, I don't remember George Washington's birthday or anything like that they wanted us to learn and what have you.
And so when did you, as far as emotional intelligence, was that something as an adult Can you tell me just a little bit about that?
Yeah, I didn't even know what it was. EQ is what they call it, emotional intelligence. And I grew up not knowing what that meant. I don't even know if my parents even heard that word or even knew what that meant. So I just didn't know what it was until I got to be about, well, maybe in my mid-30s where I started to be like, oh, people who are emotionally intelligent have less ego, which ego is control. I need it this way, only this way, which is not flexible. It's not really great for a relationship. So I started to see that people with flexibility, understanding, heartfulness represent what emotional intelligence is for me. And then I started to want that out of a partner, but you can't really want that until you know what it is. So you hit your head a few times and then you can kind of see that. And so my husband has deep emotional intelligence, very flexible, very understanding. So I was like, all right.
Sounds like an amazing guy.
He's pretty cool. Yeah. Maybe he can come on your show and talk about weed or something.
Yeah, I love him already.
He lived in the Bay Area, so he's a huge Grateful Dead fan. So sometimes I channel Jerry for him in the morning and he loves it. It's fun. He gets to chat with his guru type guy, and I like Jerry too, but the Grateful Dead has great music, but if I had to pick something from the 70s, I'm going Led Zeppelin, you know?
Yes.
Although it's all good.
Yes. And so going back to you were telling me about some of our mutual friends.
Yes.
So when you say that, first I'm kind of excited because I've always felt very connected to them.
Yeah.
Yes. How do you feel that or know that, or is there any more you can tell me about that friendship or things that have happened?
You were messaging me and we were setting this up, and I'm like, oh, how fun. You know some people I know. You know Jerry and Janice and Jim and Jimi Hendrix too. And so what happens is I get a little picture of them, and then I know, because people think because I'm psychic I get words all the time, which rarely happens. It's images, ideas, understanding. So I get a little picture of them, and I don't know exactly what to do at that point. I'm like, okay, so you know Jerry, because Jerry's coming in to say hi, and then I can kind of unpack it if the person's interesting. So in this timeline, there's a 1960s, but in other timelines, there's 1960s as well. So you actually played at Woodstock with Jerry in another timeline. That's how big into music you were. He wasn't Jerry then. He had a different name, but nonetheless, the soul remains the same, which is exquisite. I mean, he's a guru. I mean, he blows away Osho, and you know, he's just an exquisite individual. So you have traveled around as a gypsy with him before, traveling musicians, healers, think gypsy style. And so you know Jerry back and forth, up and down, and he's glad he gets to talk to you like this now. But if you really want to get into some stuff, come out to my house. We'll take a peek how you really know. Because he's saying sometimes when people are musicians, it's not all hunky-dory and roses. Look at Janis Joplin. That's a hard gig. That was difficult, you know, it was drugs and difficulties in that way. So he's like, it's not always roses. So we can look at the good and look at the bad if you want to. But Jimi Hendrix particularly is waving now. So I got an image of Jimmy with his bandana and you know how he looks. They don't have bodies anymore. They just give me images of what they were, so I know who we're talking to. But he's saying you guys actually chose the same womb to come into in a life. So he's been your brother.
Wow.
You
know what's interesting is I'm pretty sure he was actually died the day my brother was born.
No kidding.
I'm pretty sure, I think it was like the September 18th, which was my brother's birthday. I think that's the day he passed away. Maybe even the same year. I'm not, but I know it's interesting you said that.
So you have some connection already. Yeah. But you probably love his music too. I mean, he's exquisite. Oh my
gosh. I mean, I'm a musician to my core, but I didn't discover that till I was a little bit later, till I was 18 or so.
Still
young, yeah. But it's interesting because all the names you mentioned were the founding bursts of soul that came into my life.
Me too.
And so it's, as I'm sure many people were inspired by these people, but those names in particular.
And we grew up in the 90s, so for them to come to the table quickly, that's something, as opposed to Nirvana or whatever, you know.
I never really gravitated towards, I didn't even know what the contemporary music was at the time. It's just, that's the music that just spoke to my soul.
To your soul. Some of the best music ever made, honestly. Jerry was a musician, but he was also a leader and a guru and had Jesus-y energy and stuff. So he did it both. He taught through music, which is a beautiful way to teach. And he kept his ego at bay. You know, sure, he had his difficulties or whatever, but if you look at Osho, before he dies, he's in Hollywood getting nice watches from the rich people and, having that distort him in a way. I don't think Jerry ever did that. I think he stayed true to his heart.
Yes.
Again, had his struggles, we all do.
Mm-hmm.
Stayed true and stayed the course of a heartful guru.
Yes, yes. And it's incredible, certain people like that who are put on a pedestal by so many people, but whenever I've seen interviews or heard them talking,
So down to
they
earth.
sound like the most humble people. And then you're like, how could someone who is almost worshipped by people and has
Godlike.
done so much,
Yes.
they can be so humble.
Don't you wish our leaders had that?
My God, what a world we might be living in. And then you wonder, do people only get into that position because they don't have
I'm quite
that,
sure of it.
you
I
know?
think sociopaths
It's
pull
like
to that a little bit.
Yeah,
Control.
You
Because a
can
heartful
only
person.
pass through here if you have ulterior motives and different ego.
Well, a heartful person doesn't necessarily want to tell
Exact-
people what to do.
Right.
They'll take leadership role lightly and, help out and stuff. But
Right.
someone who has a lot of ego is a younger
Yes.
soul. And of course, they're going to go to that control space. So
Yes.
imagine how many CEOs and, what's the percentage of politicians that are narcissists?
Right.
And like clinically, like actual narcissists.
Yes.
A lot of them.
So sometimes I think, and I'm curious your take on this, is where we are going as a society. And we're in one snapshot of time, but with that, what you're saying is so many of the people who are in these high leadership positions are not necessarily these Jerry Garcia or Jimi Hendrix or
Heartful,
Janis
humble.
Joplin type people. They're the opposite almost.
Yeah,
And
almost the
so,
opposite.
so is there hope? I mean, I like to believe there's hope.
There is, I'll tell you. It's my favorite thing to talk about because it gives us something to look forward to. Because like I said, we incarnate here with amnesia. We choose the one we come out of, and we come here with amnesia. You could have chosen to be a fairy, a dinosaur, an alien on a different planet. You could have chosen so many things. Why did a bunch of old souls in the 70s and before and after come in right now? Because in the non-physical, when we were energying around, we were like, look at the sociopaths, they're going to destroy it. Do we let them do it? And then we all incarnate, pepper through time, to raise the vibration, raise awareness. As you can see over time, more and more liberal beliefs have come to the table as typical. You can see a lot of more people are leaving religion and kind of coming into this more open space. So we're bringing it in. But listen to this. My teacher, who's a trans channel, just like Edgar Cayce from the 1940s and Esther Hicks and Bashar, and there's a bunch of them. He's not as famous as them. Keeps them more humble. He said to me, Jenny, I was living in Boulder 10 years ago. He goes, Jenny, do you think you'd be on the planet when the heart supersedes the ego? I go, no, it's a real shit show. Can I swear? And he goes, you will. And my teacher never projects in the future because our free will and choices and everything create that.
Yes.
So I was like, what? And he goes, it's anybody's game still, but the likelihood is high. Now I'm 48, so within 40 years maybe, we'll get to the point where there's 52% heart and 48% ego, which is not the win, but it's the start.
You know what you're saying? It's like I've had this image for a long time that is kind of like what you're saying, that I've, through all this like sort of doom that we've been facing, I've always been really optimistic for some reason, and I have this vision of a huge rug, like a hallway rug, and someone says like, we need to flip this rug.
Yeah.
And it seems like daunting and impossible because when you're at one end flipping, it's like nothing's happening. But then just what you said, when you get to that, like once it gets to that, not only is it happening, you can't stop it.
It's going.
Yeah.
We're going.
Yeah. So like when you said that, that image that I've had so many
Good
times
imagery,
came-
by the
yeah,
way. I
yeah,
like that imagery.
yeah,
That's a
yeah.
good communication from your spirit guides or helper beings saying,
Yeah.
hey, there's a little something to look forward to.
Yeah.
You're not here in vain. You're not here on one of the more trickier dimensions to incarnate just for a good time. You're here to do the work, have a good time too, but then be the change you wish to see in the world and be this. So I don't want to get morbid or anything, but when the baby boomers are gone off the planet, so in about 20-ish years, they own about 60% of the wealth, a lot of houses, and they seem to really cling to their jobs, think the president. They're 85 and really not taking that retirement all the time. Some of them are.
Yeah.
So after 20 years, there will be a redistribution of the wealth. The question is, will the millennials pull up the ladder like their parents did, or will they go social? Because the millennials have seen since 2008 crisis after crisis after crisis with a $100,000 student loan. They've seen how capitalism does not work.
Yeah.
Now the boomers, it still did work a little bit for a lot of them.
Yeah.
So in the next 20 years, we're going to see a major changing of the guards, which then leaves our generation on top, Gen X, and we are noted to not give a shit, not in a disheartful way, but in a non-attachment way, which is brilliant. It's very evolved.
Yeah.
So give us the keys, we'll fix this baby up.
I like it. Well, I want to keep talking about this, but I also want to hear more about how you got into the Jam Band Fest and working with musicians and helping artists at things that are not necessarily their strengths. And so can you tell me about that?
Yeah.
Part of your
I live in
world?
Placitas, artists everywhere. I was like, they don't seem to want to or know how or care to market themselves in a way that I would say that's how things sell, is you let people know you exist. And they're a little shy and they're a lot humble. So I was like, I love to talk and I love to sell things and I think you're very exquisite. So that's how it started, is me being like, I like your work so much, I think other people should see it. And then I started doing the art shows and then just having like a solo performer that I know come in and play a little bit of music. And then before you know it, I'm running across one more silver dollar and my eyes are flipped back. I know a lot of them from past lives too. And I'm like, oh my God, you guys are incredible. And then that's when I started bringing bigger names, which had to come in later as I gained momentum and got money and things like this, got support and stuff. And so then it just turned into Jam Band Fest. And in April, I did New Mexico Ranch Fest at the Balloon Fiesta at Sid Cutter, same place I'm doing Jam Band Fest. And then I also have one for a Christmas event at the same place.
So Jam Band Fest it's like an actual festival. And so when did that first begin?
Well, it's about a year wait to get into the Balloon Fiesta because it's just so busy. And so I got my foot in the door there and I was like, well, what other events can I do? And so then I was like, let's do Jam Band Fest. And I'm a big fan of the music scene, that particular time frame of music, and then my husband is too. So it just kind of turned into a Jam Band Fest because I was like, well, I can get this place, what should I put in it? And then I started putting my favorite stuff in there. So it's pretty fun. It's pretty exciting.
And when does this happen?
It's August 15th, and it's from noon to 6, and it's at the Sid Cutter at the Balloon Fiesta. And we have Suavecito going on first, who is a Santana cover band, and they're very exquisite. And then I have Haziel Martinez coming on, and he is a solo performer from the South Valley, very bluesy. He's got this really fantastic feel. I call him the savory to the Jam Fest. You know, he's got some savory feel. And then we have A Touch of Grey, who's led by Jeff Mann, and he is from California but has lived in New Mexico for a handful of years. And they do all kinds of music, original, covers, everything. And then One More Silver Dollar will headline. Hope next year, hopefully, if the success is there, which I think it will be, I get 2 days, so I'll be able to bring on more performers.
Let me know if you need any other solo performers.
I would love to bring you on.
Yeah, well, that sounds incredible. And I understand there's a website maybe we'll get to check out, and that has more information.
A little more information. You can also go to Facebook and just look for New Mexico Jam Band Fest. We have an event page going, and then we have our regular page going. And I'm 5D Presents, and you can find me at 5dpresents.com.
Okay, and there's, sweet flyer. Love it. Okay, free parking.
Free entry, free parking.
Okay, well, we'll definitely, when this airs, we'll definitely put the links on to so people can know how to get there and look forward to that and put it on their calendars.
I appreciate you.
Wow, incredible. And so, out of curiosity, have you ever played music?
No.
Or, so it's been. You ever try for a weekend playing the guitar? It just doesn't.
Do you want to know why I haven't?
Yeah, I do.
You're asking all the right questions. Okay. So when I talked about karma, it can be good karma or it can be rough karma. It can be a hard lesson, it could be a great lesson. Like a good karma would be like you pick up a guitar at 5 and you're just Jimi Hendrix. That's like carrying through good karma, things that you've done. Tricky karma might be the harder lessons. And so I liked music always, but I stayed away out of the scene. I didn't really go see a lot of music. I didn't want to play music. And I thought that's so strange considering I like music, you know, so it's a strange thing to be kind of keeping it 3 feet away. Well, I find out that a handful of times that I've been a musician, I had trauma, meaning Janis Joplin style life. So that wasn't pleasant. So when you have trauma in past lives and you go back to the non-physical and you decide to incarnate again, sometimes those struggles stick with you and have you kind of veering away from it. So I always wondered why I stood 3 feet away, considering I'm kind of that type of person, and then find out later that I have a lot of struggles with being a musician. I couldn't even date musicians this lifetime.
Wow.
It was just, that's called in my understanding and the way that I've coined it, it's spiritual post-traumatic stress disorder. Stress from past lives. We don't know usually where it comes from.
Yes.
Even me as a psychic only sees a little bit. So I'm working with specifically One More Silver Dollar and band members in there who are incredibly heartful and make me feel very comfortable.
Yeah.
I've been able to walk closer and closer to the music scene
Yeah.
without having these triggers or
They
stressors.
As
So heartful.
As musicians, their talent, but just each individual
Incredible.
one of them.
I can't say enough good things.
I just love each of those human beings.
So they're helping me walk into it and be more comfortable. I wasn't totally uncomfortable. It was just something kind of keeping me away. It was kind of like a,
you'd think I would just be like, oh,
all up in it.
hand me the guitar,
Right.
send me the djembes and this and that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I took to electronic music very well. And I think obviously I've always loved like Led Zeppelin and regular music, but I think electronic music was just a just far enough out that I was just went a little further
was like
in.
your access point.
And then I kind of curved back around.
Interesting. And so if someone like yourself has that, can that be healed during your lifetime, or is it?
Yeah, it can. I'm doing that now. I'm healing it, where before it would have never occurred to me to throw a festival. It's just not that I don't like festivals or I don't think they should exist. It's just it would have never occurred to me to walk that far in, and here I am throwing a festival. But it took the right musicians.
Gotcha.
So I can't just work with anybody, and I don't need to work with everybody. I only do a handful a year, and I only need so many musicians. But no, it's been great, and I've been running across more and more fantastic musicians. And
have you been going as you've been doing this, like going out to hear more music than in the past?
It's helped me hear more music. Yeah, and Ethan Dines.
Yes, of course.
He's always in the audience quite often, so I'll sit next
Love
to him,
that guy.
and he really helps me hold space there, and is like a helper, being over there for me, and just kind of getting. And again, it's not like I have trauma when I go see music. It's just that I typically am not wanting to go do it or put myself out there to go do it, and now I'm doing it more, and that's the healing. And then by the time a handful of years go by, no problem.
Yeah, he's another one of those people who the first time I met him, I feel like I've known this guy.
Past lives.
Yeah.
He's Jewish too.
Yeah. Interesting.
Love
It's interesting how that quality with certain people. I've never known why that phenomenon happens, where sometimes you meet someone and just you know each other.
When you traveled around and taught in different countries, did one of them feel more familiar than another? Because that's a past life too. Those memories are cellular memories.
I mean, definitely different places, like different times I've met people along those journeys where I'd be someplace and I would meet someone and
felt like you knew them.
Yeah.
Like in India, and you're like, there's no way I met you before.
Yeah.
So was there one you liked more than the other?
One country I liked more than the other. I mean, they were all so special. I mean, I would say, I would say, I mean, Israel comes to mind because like when I got there, it just felt like I just so naturally kind of found myself in the right neighborhood and in the right places in the music scene with people who just kind of welcomed me in a very special way. That comes to mind. That was most recent. But Chile, something very special that happened is before I even got to Chile, someone told me, I was in Chile many years ago, and there's this guy named Blind Johnny Blues, who's this blind street musician, this incredible. It was telling me about this guy, and thinking like, wow, So I got there. I was teaching English, and so I'd be walking around, after class, and one day I'm walking, I hear in the distance this harmonica and guitar, and I kind of get close, and I'm looking for this whole band. It sounds like a whole band. I see just this one guy, and I'm like, oh my God, this is him. It's John. So I thought like, wow, how cool is it? I actually got to see him. Then I put some money in his case, and afterwards, and I took my limited Spanish at the time. Gracias por tu música, and then. He right away, he says, he asked me, if I played music, and I happened to have a harmonica. Anyways, we ended up becoming quite good friends and performing music all
good friends
all around.
again.
Yeah, and it was just who could plan these
You hear
things.
about him, you meet him, and then you're jamming with him. I mean, that's the universe talking.
Yeah.
It doesn't normally use words; it uses experiences like that. And there you were led to a friend, and you jammed, and you had a good time. Whole different country.
Yes. So that comes to mind, and one thing I like to share, just as far as we were talking about, when you are open to signs. When I was in New Zealand, I went there very shortly after my mother had passed away, and I had to find an apartment, and I was having a hard time finding an apartment, and a finally I found this one that was available. It seemed kind of small and this and that, but afterwards I went to see it, and I picked up my phone to call my mom, but I realized, okay, obviously I can't call her, but I said, Mom, give me a sign if, should I take this place? And literally, like, the second after I said that, I walked past this next building, and there was this massive elephant. And my mom, and knows my mom, they're like, oh, Sandy loves elephants. And there's this huge elephant right on this. I was like, okay, that's interesting. I just asked for a sign. There's this elephant. And then I see this number that's like down in the corner. It was 66, which I guess was the address. And my mother was 66 when she passed away. And so I just took that as a sign. So I went right back and I said, I will take this place. And then it ended up being like the most perfect place, the perfect location. My mother devoted her life to Holocaust education because she was a child of Holocaust survivors, and happened to be across the street from the Holocaust Museum, right down the street. I didn't know there's a
Your mom's like, when I come visit you, I want it to be by the Holocaust Museum so I can hang out.
Yeah,
she's like, I'll put you up real cool.
And what was so whenever I would have to pass this elephant every time I would come home, and every time I felt like, even though I was mourning the passing of my mother, I felt like that whole chapter of time she was with me. You. And so that's been one of the times where, like, okay, just be open to it, and these guidances and signs will come, and
and you ask too. So a lot of people don't know to ask, and then they might not know to look for it because you asked, and then you're seeking, and then there it was.
Yes.
No, your mom was absolutely. What do they say? We get a little help from our friends.
Yes,
It happened to be your mom.
Yes. So
that's a cool story.
The more those things happen, and sometimes I like to share a song with you called "Signs." It's just about that whole idea about when these signs and messages come, the more we listen and acknowledge, the more we are guided in the future.
And being open, because some people will say, Jenny, I want my mom to show herself as a red bird on the feeder. I go, let's not get so specific. I mean, sure, try for it, but let's just open it up and keep it big. Because if you're looking for something specific, easily you could have missed those signs. If you were looking for very specific things, you just kept yourself open, and then there it was, and you could see it.
Yes.
Very good.
Yeah. So how do you, if you come across some people, I imagine they're like, oh, wait, what are you talking about? I imagine there's,
where I'm from, Michigan, that's what I heard all the time, which is why I went to Boulder, sold my center and moved to Boulder, because I heard quite often, and it would be often from older people, even in Michigan, you don't really believe that, do you? I'm like, I don't know, do you believe there's a man in the sky who punishes you for, doing anything? I mean, because that's crazy to me, the idea that we come over and over again isn't crazy to me, because we only get, like your mom, only 66 years. That's not a ton of time to experience all the things. Why not come back? Why would we be limited? No, you don't really believe that, do you? And when I moved to Chattanooga from Boulder, I hung out with artists and musicians in Chattanooga because there's plenty of them, but you step outside that circle, this is what I heard. You ain't from around here, are you? What gave it away? Come on, I'm curious. The enunciation. Just kidding. No, so I've heard a lot of things. And what I looked at is, why would I listen to a hater who doesn't even have a life I envy? These people who come down on me are living very, ego-full lives, and I'm like, I'm not going to take advice from someone I don't admire.
Yes.
I'll take advice from people I admire.
That's good advice for anybody. Don't take advice from someone you don't admire.
Are they living a life that you think is exceptional and fantastic? Take their advice. But if they're, living a smaller life, which is fine for them, but they want you to be in a smaller life too, because that's usually what it is. When I say past lives, people are like, they don't know what to think about it. It goes past everything they've ever believed, and it makes them feel uncomfortable. So the first instinct would be to, that's not true, as opposed to just chewing on it. An open person would just chew on it, even if they don't take it as their truth, which is great too, it's fine, just to chew on it. But a lot of people are quite closed down, and it scares them. They like their Jesus, they like their God, they like their nice tight religion that has them feeling like they have all the answers, and none of us do.
I feel like there's this, people feel like, I'm on a search for truth. I want to know truth, but I feel like so many people are really on a search for
comfortable
affirmation
truth.
of what they believe
already believe, and that's that's the truth of it. Where if you're a true truth seeker, you have zero attachment to the outcome. If you're attaching to the outcome, you're not a truth seeker. You just want your truth to be true.
Yeah.
And this is where people like Albert Einstein were so brilliant, because even though he sat in what I would call a kind of a dogmatic practice like science, he was able to go very big, which he's one of the best psychics in our past. Albert Einstein brought in ideas of relativity. Yes, he was brilliant, but he channeled that.
Gotcha.
Nikola Tesla channeled alien technology.
Yeah. How could anyone come up with this in
No,
just
no
our
one.
own? That's
No.
what I think. Like,
They
there's
get
no
help.
way.
They get help.
Yeah.
I don't know all this stuff just because I'm a smart person. I just get impressions and I'm open to it, and I get educated and learn and then share it.
Yeah. So who of this life, who have been some of your big influences, inspirations?
About 20-ish or more years ago, I was working in a health food store because I had a massage business there. So I'd work in the store to help pay my rent in the massage business while I was getting going. And a lady worked there. I went to school with some of her kids. She had like 5 sons, and they were fun skiers and snowboarders and fun kids, you know. So she was real hip. So I just chat with her, and she'd be like, "Well, O'Brien said this and O'Brien said that," and I was like, "Who's O'Brien?" She goes, "Oh, that's my trans channel teacher." And my whole world just fell away. Like, I'm standing there in the room, but I'm with her.
And you hadn't heard anything really like this
I knew what a
before.
trans channel was, but I didn't know I could get a hold of one because it was just not as common in Michigan, you know.
Sure.
And he's living in Arizona at that point. So she's talking to him on the phone. And she goes, "Oh, here's this email. Give him a message and schedule." And so I schedule with him, and he just starts speaking my language that I've never enunciated because I don't want people to think I'm completely crazy. I was pretty young still then at that point, you know? And he's like, "Oh yeah, your boyfriend that you have right now, you have a lot of past lives. Do you even want to know about past lives?" And I'm like, yes, because it's all been there since I've been 8, but it wasn't really talked about too much. It's not a classic thing to talk about. So my teacher, who is Michael Traub, he's a Jewish man. He's been doing this since the 80s. He might be in his 70s now. He's, I think, from Chicago, lived in Florida. When I met him, he was in Arizona, but I think he's back in Florida. So my teacher, he's a psychotherapist in the day, and then he's retired because he's 70, but then he's also a trans channel. So my teacher, Michael Traub, channels a combination of entities called O'Brien. And I've been talking to him for over 20 years. I'm going to tell you, like, no psychic is perfectly accurate. It's just not the size of it. It's just like if you were a musician, you don't play everything perfect and we let it go or whatever, you know. But he's incredibly accurate. He's incredibly skillful. And he's the one that's kind of, you know, encouraged me to be like, "Well, you really are psychic." I'm like, "But I don't see the future." And he's like, "Well, it doesn't exist. Stop watching the TV and expecting it to look like that." He didn't say that, but it was something like that. So my teacher, Michael Traub. And then, of course, I've ran across a lot of very heartful healers along the way that I've learned from. But I don't typically get into gurus because just like with politics, any level of hierarchy can breed so much ego. It doesn't have to, but it quite often it does. It's just this trip, you know, that humans get on. And so when I, you know, see a guru and he's never left a palace, but he's sitting on his pillows preaching, I'm like, "Yeah, real cute. That's nice. Why don't you come play out here, and then let's see how kind and heartful you are when you have to worry about electric bills." Nothing wrong with how they're teaching, but I want someone to show up out here and then still hold that heart energy.
That's why I feel like no one should be even allowed to be president or anything unless they've, you know, their resume should be like, you know, waited tables, X amount of years, been whatever.
School teacher, just all these things that can humble you and keep you heartful and show that you're a servant.
How else could you represent a population if this has been your experience? You know, it should be like you're off the table, that you can't even be considered for
This is the question they should ask, and it would have kept Trump out. He thought that the average American family income was $400,000, just completely out of touch. At that time, it was the first time he won. So back, you know, almost 10 years ago now, it was 40,000. He was 90% off on the guess of the people he's leading and where they are financially.
Because he was probably thinking, who are the poorest people I know? You know, I guess they.
He's like, "Oh, my housekeeper makes at least 3, so maybe 4. You know, just out of touch. And then, so that's why they called it a public servant back in the day. It was probably unpaid, and you did it because you were a heartful person and you want to help your community. And it's turned into, well, like people like Epstein blackmailing politicians, and then it's just so gross and insidious, and it's just like, man, I asked my spirit guides, I said, can you show me the future of politics? Anything. I know you don't know exactly what it looks like because we're creating it, but can you show me just one symbol? They showed me a pyramid with the top gone. So in the future, politics are likely to look a lot less hierarchy, where we keep it down to participate and not participate, and that's the size of it, and of course there'll be ego in that, but keeping it where the peak isn't just sitting up there just being crazy.
Because I wonder if it's like almost inevitable that it happens that way, because I don't know throughout human history if there's been a good model. I mean, I'm sure there's been better models.
Do you think Abe Lincoln? What do you think?
I mean, here's the thing.
I think about this sometimes too, and I'm sure there are some.
Here's what I think, from what I know, it sounds great, but we see now in the news 3 different versions of what happened yesterday.
True.
You know, and people are like, that didn't happen, yet we're so sure, you know, this is what happened, you know, 100, 200, 5, whatever years ago.
The information's always been askew.
And we're thinking, and how are people so, they're just blindly, that this is what it is. Like, you don't even know what happened yesterday. We have all these cameras and technology. I mean, of course, with like this AI and these different videos you see, you don't know what's real. That's another whole aspect. But even, you know, 15 years ago, before, you know, when you could basically see a video and say, okay, I guess this happened. And even still, there's 10 different versions. Yet historical things, who's been painted to be wonderful, who's been painted to be evil, and how much of that's true. But from what I know about Lincoln, you know, it sounds like a pretty, you know, sounds like
JFK, another, you know, decent one maybe. Were they perfect?
No. A lot of the ones that get killed.
Isn't that funny? My favorite, and I channel him sometimes, MLK.
Yes.
He did a lot of work on this timeline. Did a lot of work for civil rights, heartful energy, preaching the good stuff. And so that's why they often will check in and want to see where we're at. They want to see what their investment's doing. I don't think they have big attachments to it, but they want to see if what they did is continuing on down the line. And of course it is. And that's why they support people, all of us, but definitely people like me who I can communicate with them and say, oh, okay, we're on the right track. We're doing the good work. We're picking up the torch.
I feel like one of the biggest obstacles we face is this mass division that it's always been there, but I feel like with technology and social media, it's being exploited to even a higher level, where you know, whatever algorithms are kind of like these echo chambers to keep people divided, understandably, so we can be hating on our neighbor rather than being like, wait a second, what's going on with all the resources up there?
Distraction.
And for me, I feel like one of the things I hope to in some way do, at least move towards, is how to bridge that, or how to help at least let people see more clearly, like, don't fall into this. Don't so easily be hating on your neighbor who you're actually on the same side.
You're on the same side.
And
like George Carlin said, it's a club, and you ain't in it.
Yeah. And
I love him.
And yet we hear this, and we've been taught this, and it's like, it's not like we don't know it, but people are so quick. If only, you know, if only she was president, if only he was president, then life would be good. When
we have more problems than that.
Right. And so.
And then they want to divide us too, like you said, where somebody is mad at a single mom getting a bit of assistance and not mad at Netflix not paying any taxes.
Right.
There's a reason that people are attacking the wrong person, and it's design.
And it's a brilliant, you know, divide and conquer.
It
sort
is.
Of plan.
I hate to give credit to ego, but that is brilliant divide.
Yeah.
It's how they've always done it. Look at religion and everything.
Yeah. So what hope do we have, or what can we do? I mean, aside from, I think one of the best cures is actually having conversations with human beings and not commenting on people's posts, but actually connecting. But any words of wisdom or hope for what can, I don't know, bring people back together, or at least not be so powerfully divided in a hurtful way?
Well, notice it's a design and a distraction, so just being aware that the divide is intended, so just that awareness. But I teach a class called Energy Alchemy, and like Albert Einstein taught, everything is energy. So I like to teach people how to turn egoic emotion into heartful emotion. Fear is an egoic emotion. Curiosity is heartful. One is so much better. So if you want to be the change you wish to see in the world.
Yes.
Have more love than worry. Have more acceptance than hate. Have more wonderment than closed down. So you can't save all the dolphins. You can donate time, you can send in some money, you can do these things, but at the end of the day, what do you have control of?
Yes.
How can you be in charge of being the change you wish to see in the world?
Yes.
Alchemize your ego energy into heart.
Wow. Where did you that you?
It was downloaded, and I teach it into classes now.
But I mean, when you first heard that must, I mean, just
Yeah.
for me hearing that for right now,
It's like,
oh, yeah.
Because the way that it was shown to me is anxiety is a innate human design to keep you safe. If there's a ledge, if there's a bear, if there's a person with a weapon, it is designed to kick your adrenals to get out of that
Sure,
way.
for
It's a
survival,
design,
yeah.
it's a survival.
Yeah.
But if there's no ledge and there's no bear and there's no one with a gun or a knife, you are wasting your energy, and anxiety is not productive.
Yes.
Curiosity is.
Yes. Yes. That reminds me. I'd like to share a song sometime with you. It's that I wrote called "Stay Calm," because so many times in life when I get stressed about something and I realize it really doesn't serve me very well. It's
not productive.
Helping.
It's stress, and medical advice is keep your stress at bay. It kills you. So it makes sense that to have a healthier, lighter, longer life,
Yes.
try to stick into joy and acceptance as opposed to hate and anger. Because I don't like Trump either, but I'm not giving him any energy.
Right.
I'm not going to sit around hating
See,
him.
because that's why I'm baffled by so many people who I know and love, and I know are good people with such good hearts.
It
but it
happens,
seems
though.
they put so much energy to Donald Trump, and I mean, I don't support any of these politicians,
No.
you know. But for people, it's like, do you think that's helping? Like,
It's
is it? I mean, God
It's more
bless,
fuel to the
God
fire.
bless you, and I hope it's you know.
Your feelings are
I know
valid.
your intentions,
Right.
and I love, these are people I love, you know.
Yeah.
But really, like, so much attention,
Is
and you
given
don't want to tell me, oh, you're wrong. You don't do this. That's
ego
not,
too. Yeah. I hear you. I understand why you feel that way, but it feels like it's putting a damper on your health. Can we consider alchemizing it to acceptance? It's temporary, and let's see what's next. And we are going into
and it feels like that's almost feeding more into it. That's like furthering the divide, which it's like, I feel like if there's going to be hope, it's going to be together. It's not going to be our side dominated that side.
No.
Doesn't sound like a win, you know.
Martin Luther King says, darkness doesn't put out dark. Light puts out dark.
Wow.
And that's what it is. Love
Yes.
alchemizes the ego. And we're not going to be perfect here on the planet for any time soon or ever.
Yeah.
But some of the aliens from far off galaxies and planets like to watch us because we're kind of like apes to them.
I'm sure, yeah.
Like, so they're fighting over who's more religious. Got it. Okay. As they teleport to the nexus. You know, they're very advanced, so they kind of watch us because people are like, well, what are they doing here? Why are they here? I'm like, they're studying why we're such barbarians and watching us to see if we can go ahead and save the planet before she shakes us off, you know? So that's what they study us for. They like to watch us like a
like
show.
when we watch our nature programs and
Yes,
stuff
or like a
that.
reality show. Like, what the hell?
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to ask you one thing. Do you, in your studies and work, do dreams come into it?
Yes, because I work with it a little bit, and there are people who specialize in it. So if someone wanted to find a specialist, they are out there. But they're images. They're absolutely coming in when your subconscious mind is forward, right? You fall asleep and your conscious mind kind of chills, and then your subconscious mind comes forward, which anything is possible. It's the bigger, Carl Jung talks about it, it's like the bigger space. It's like everything. The conscious mind thinks it rules the roost, but it doesn't. So so people will get images and ideas and understandings in their dreams. But I always like to tell them this. It is your conscious and your subconscious mind putting images on things. So when people come and say, my dad came to visit me, he died 10 years ago and he had bologna in his hand. I go, well, you must have been hungry and he was saying hi, but your imagery put bologna and it's not like, you know, because we don't have stomachs to eat it there. So it was just an imagery. So I always say, take it lightly. Okay. Take it with a grain of salt and take some truth from it and try not to rack your brain why bologna was showing up. There's no real reason. It's just part of how your brain did it. Yeah.
Okay. Because I've always been certain things in dreams where you're just like, all right, you know, sometimes you'll dream and
It'll
see
come true.
the person.
Yeah.
And say, or I mean, I would like to have many more conversations, but certain just things that are just like, how can you explain some of these
Thinking
things
about them at phone rings and all that fun stuff.
Yeah. Well, I cannot thank you enough for being here, and I would very much like to continue our conversations and hear more about the work you are doing, and thank you for the work you are doing.
I appreciate you.
When you are healing and helping anyone, it is helping all of us. I'm very convinced of that. So I'm grateful for the work you do and the lives you touch and touching my life today.
Ditto. You do good
And,
work too. I appreciate your heart energy, bringing awareness, giving people a stage to talk about the passions, and then you get to learn, and then they get to learn,
Yes.
and then everyone gets to listen.
Yes. All right. I'm grateful for you, and bless your path, and may we talk many more times.
I'll come back next year. We'll talk about Jam Band Fest next year.
All right. Can't wait. Can't wait. All right. Well, take a look for the links and to the Jam Band Fest and many other wonderful events. And blessings to everybody out there. And this has been Jennie McDaniel.
Everybody's got something that nobody else has got.